In British Columbia, CBC News is learning more about a man charged with sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl in Vancouver last month during an alleged crime spree. John Frederick Field is a high-risk sex offender with a long criminal record, and 2 months before the alleged attack on the girl, he was in police custody for terrorizing another young woman. But he was released. Now, for more on that, I'm joined by CBC's Karin Larsen, who's been looking into this. So Karin, this man turned up at the woman's house in the middle of the night in March?
Yeah, 4:30 in the morning in East Vancouver. She lives in a third-floor apartment in an old house in the Commercial Drive area. Her name is Danielle. We found her in the court records, but we're not identifying her, so we're only going to use her first name. Yeah, so she was awakened in her third-floor apartment, and this is what she told us happened.
I saw him through the door. He's standing on my patio, just standing there looking at me. And then as I screamed, realizing that I didn't know this person, he started walking towards the door and started banging on the door. I grabbed a knife that was on my kitchen counter. My dog was barking. He's freaking out. The guy's still banging on the door. He's screaming at me, yelling at me.
So, Sarah, police responded quickly, and they did arrest John Frederick Field on Danielle's patio. He is, as you said, a high-risk sex offender, has a long criminal record, and was on probation for the 2023 sex assault of a female hospital worker at that time. He's also been assessed for high-risk offender status, but it wasn't sought by Crown last year. And after being arrested at Danielle's, he was released within 24 hours by Vancouver police.
Yeah, so anybody who's listening to this and hearing that account of what happened here is wondering why wasn't Field detained and in custody?
Well, VPD says it's because they have restrictions and limitations by the criminal code, and the fact that trespassing at night, which is the charge he was facing, is a low-level criminal offence. Police did submit a charge assessment to Crown the following day. Here's a VPD spokesman, Steve Addison.
We're confident that we had sufficient evidence and significant evidence of this offense when we arrested him, that offense being trespass at night. We arrested him at the scene on the balcony, and he was taken into custody.
But a charge wasn't filed, and Crown asked the VPD for more evidence of this crime. Meanwhile, Field was out on the street and had a number of interactions with police. He was arrested in early May for stealing from a Lululemon store in downtown Vancouver. And CBC has learned that police were seeking him in relation to 2 other incidents involving women in Vancouver. Then on May 28th, back to the start of our story, he was arrested for allegedly assaulting the 14-year-old girl in the washroom in the Oakridge neighbourhood. He also is charged with assaulting a woman in the same crime, alleged crime spree, and robbing a bank. He is scheduled to appear in Vancouver Provincial Court on June the 26th for a bail hearing.
Well, thanks for having your eyes on all that. Thank you.
You're
Karin
welcome.
Larsen. And you can find more in-depth coverage of that story on our website, including details of the investigations John Frederick Field was facing. Head to cbc.ca/news for that and our other top stories. For more analysis, though, I want to bring in Angela Marie McDougall. She is the Executive Director at Batter Women's Support Services. Angela, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you, Sarah.
This feels like a story that we've told before, right. Certainly in the Lower Mainland of British Columbia. We were talking about this in the newsroom. Randall Hopley being one that a very famous case of someone who has been rearrested and released and ended up out in the streets. When you hear the story we're talking about now, what are your thoughts?
Well, it's quite concerning. I mean, we certainly have a crisis of violence against women and gender-based violence. And what we don't have yet is the system rising to the occasion to address the issue in the way that we need to, in terms of the criminal system and corrections. So this should be a wake-up call, certainly, for a number of different actions that we think need to happen. But as we've seen, things are very slow, and we're not seeing the result yet that we need. And we're gambling with the lives of girls and women each and every time.
I mean, to your point there, the Vancouver police spokesperson said that their authority to further detain this individual is limited by the criminal code. And you've heard that before.
We've heard it before, but there's lots of things that could be happening that are not. And it's difficult to really understand all of the reasons why the criminal system's not taking violence against women seriously. I don't understand it, because there are remedies. There's a number of risk assessments that are been established, but it's something that we are pushing for, is more comprehensive, standardized risk assessments that result in a different kind of intervention with respect to men such as this man. He's not the only one, as we know, but it's quite appalling to think about how he's been let to walk the streets after doing so much harm to so many women. It's just quite disturbing.
You work specifically with female victims of violence. They're watching the news potentially. Right. How does a story, hearing that there's an offender that's back on the streets, released, how does that affect them?
It's bad. I mean, we're really having a public safety crisis, and it has a chilling effect, certainly, for so many women and girls all across Metro Vancouver and British Columbia and Canada. And it is where we have half the population that is observing in real time to what extent the state is going to take violence against women seriously. And, of course, all of the safety concerns that we already know that women and girls are taking incredible actions every single day in order to be safe. And but it doesn't matter if the state is also not going to do its part to hold the men that do this harm accountable and to use the mechanisms that are already in place, but then to expand those mechanisms. There's lots that we can do, and it's conversations that we're happening every day with government officials and within the various levels of the system.
And it's not just, I say people who have been victimized before, how do they respond to this news? But it really has gone beyond just those individuals to, and frankly, in this case, of course, we are talking about women who are being targeted, but I feel like the conversation's even gone beyond that in terms of offenders being released back into the community. Do you find that conversation has grown?
It's grown, and because of course women and girls are feeling uncomfortable, they're feeling unsafe, and the conversations have not resulted in action yet. I mean, everybody can tell that there's something wrong. There's something going wrong in the system. That's clear. But what we haven't seen is the action. There's just a lot of talk right now. But we're seeking intervention. We've had many conversations with elected people, and we've got a whole table of actions that we want them to take.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's a long list. We won't have time. We won't have time for all of them, but give me a couple of specifics that you think would make a difference.
Well, the mandated standardized risk assessments is one thing. I mean, every single individual that's being released, there has to be a comprehensive risk assessment. We have to understand the risk and the risk to the public. We're always telling women to do safety plans when they're dealing with violence, but we're not telling the system to do those safety assessments. So that's one thing. The other part is about prevention. We are intervening after the fact. There's a whole lot of things that we know that can be done to stop violence, and those actions have not been taken.
Angela, very good to have you in the studio. Thank you so much. You are, of course, the Executive Director of the Battered Women's Support Services. Angela Marie McDougall, pardon me. Thanks again.
Thanks, Sarah.